At home, the strain is palpable. Shauna Platt, his fiercely loyal wife, can sense something's wrong, but David's pride keeps him silent. He brushes off her concerns with forced smiles and muttered excuses, retreating further into himself. Sarah Platt, his sister, tries to reach out too, her sharp intuition picking up on the shadows in his eyes. But David shuts her out, unable to face the shame of admitting how deep he's sunk. Alone with his thoughts, he's haunted by the what-ifs. What if he'd never taken the money? What if Harvey makes good on his threats? What if he loses everything? By the time Wednesday rolls around, David's at breaking point. The morning dawns gray and dreary, mirroring the turmoil in his soul. He paces the house, restless and on edge, until the walls feel like they're closing in. Needing an escape, any escape, he heads to the Rovers' Return at lunchtime. The pub, with its warm lights and familiar chatter, has always been a refuge for Weatherfield's residents, and today, David craves its numbing comfort. He slides onto a bar stool, orders a pint, and then another. The alcohol burns down his throat, dulling the ache in his chest. With each sip, the world blurs a little more, and for a fleeting moment, he can pretend his problems don't exist. But the relief is temporary, and the demons in his mind are louder than ever. Daisy's tangled lies. Across the pub, Daisy Midgley is wrestling with her own tempest. The glamorous barmaid, known for her quick wit and radiant smile, is hiding a secret that's eating her alive. She's pregnant, a revelation that should bring joy, but instead has plunged her into a mire of doubt and deceit. The question of the baby's paternity has become a ticking time bomb, and the fallout is starting to ripple through her life. Daniel Osborne, her on-again, off-again partner, believes he's the father, and Daisy has let him think so. But whispers are spreading, and not everyone is convinced she's telling the truth. Kit Green, a relative newcomer to the street with a knack for stirring the pot, is the one fanning the flames. Over a quiet pint, he sidles up to Daniel, his tone casual but his words loaded. "You sure that baby's yours, mate?" he asks, eyebrows raised. "Might be worth asking for some proof, just to be certain." Daniel laughs it off at first. Kit's always been a bit of a troublemaker, but the seed is planted. Doubt festers in his mind, growing with every passing minute. He watches Daisy from across the room, her laughter sounding forced, her glances darting nervously. Could she be lying to him? The thought gnaws at him, twisting his stomach into knots. When Daniel finally confronts her, the air crackles with tension. They're tucked into a corner of the Rovers, the hum of the lunchtime crowd fading into the background. "Daisy," he says, his voice low and steady, "I need you to look me in the eye and swear on that baby's life that it's mine." His words hit her like a slap. Daisy's breath catches, her eyes widening as panic surges through her. She opens her mouth to respond, but the lie sticks in her throat. The weight of his gaze, the unspoken accusation. It's too much. Overwhelmed, she stammers an excuse and bolts for the door, desperate for air, for space, for anything to stop the walls from closing in. The collision that changes everything. Outside, the world is a blur of gray skies and distant traffic. Daisy bursts through the Rover's doors, her heart pounding as she gulps down the cold March air. Her mind races. How long can she keep this up? What happens when the truth comes out? She's so lost in her thoughts that she doesn't see David stumbling out behind her. He's had one too many, his steps unsteady, his vision swimming. The pavement tilts beneath him as he lurches into the road, oblivious to the danger hurtling toward him. It happens in an instant. A car rounds the corner, its driver too late to react. Tires screech, a horn blares, and then, impact. David is flung forward, his body crumpling against the asphalt. Daisy, caught in the chaos, is struck too, her scream cut short as she's thrown to the ground. Onlookers freeze, their gasps echoing in the sudden silence. Time seems to slow as the horror sinks in. Shauna Platt is the first to react, her cry piercing the air as she races to David's side. "No, no, no," she sobs, dropping to her knees beside him. Blood pools beneath his head, stark against the gray stone, and her hands tremble as she presses them to his chest. Stay with me, David, please. Nick Tilsley and Sarah are right behind her, their faces ashen with shock. Nick fumbles for his phone, barking orders at Kit to call an ambulance, while Sarah clutches David's hand, tears streaming down her cheeks. Nearby, Jenny Connor and Daniel rush to Daisy. She sprawled on the ground, unnaturally still, her face ghostly pale. Daisy, wake up. Jenny pleads, okay. Her voice breaks. Coronation Street spoilers follow. Coronation Street airs dramatic scenes next week as the lives of two fan favorites hang in the balance. David Platt and Daisy Midgley are both knocked over by a car outside the Rover's return, leading to heartbreaking scenes as their loved ones fear they're about to lose them. Continuing to experiment with its storytelling style, Corey will play with time as the action unfolds. The big episode airing on Wednesday, March 5, opens with a flash-forward scene showing David in a bad way at the hospital. Doctors are seen doing everything they can to save his life, but it's not looking good. As the action shifts back to the present, David struggles to cope with his financial mess and Harvey Gaskell's incessant threats over the stolen money. Needing to escape from his troubles for a while, David resorts to drowning his sorrows at the pub during lunchtime. Meanwhile, Daisy isn't faring much better as suspicion rises that she's lying about the father of her unborn baby. Kit Green takes Daniel Osborne to one side at the pub, suggesting that he should ask to see the proof that the baby is his. A seed of doubt is planted in Daniel's mind, so he confronts Daisy and asks her to swear on the baby's life that he's the father. Daisy gets overwhelmed and rushes outside. Shortly afterwards, David drunkenly stumbles in the road and onlookers are horrified as a car plows straight into him and Daisy. Shona Platt, Nick Tilsley, Sarah Platt, Daniel, Jenny Connor, and Kit all rush in to deal with the emergency situation. Kit calls an ambulance, as Shona raises concerns that David might be bleeding to death. Jenny and Daniel rush to Daisy's side, begging her to wake up and expressing fears for the baby too. With high-stakes scenes ahead, will everyone survive? Coronation Street spoilers' lives hang in the balance in heart-stopping drama. This article contains spoilers for upcoming episodes of Coronation Street. Next week, the cobbled streets of Weatherfield will be rocked by a devastating turn of events as two of Coronation Street's most beloved characters, David Platt and Daisy Midgley, find themselves fighting for survival. In a gripping storyline that promises to leave viewers on the edge of their seats, the pair are struck down by a car in a horrifying accident outside the Rover's return inn. As their loved ones gather in the aftermath, hearts will break, tensions will rise, and the very fabric of their lives will be tested in ways they never imagined. With the show continuing to push the boundaries of its storytelling, this dramatic episode, airing Wednesday, March 5, will weave past, present, and future into a tapestry of suspense and emotion, leaving fans desperate to know, will David and Daisy make it through? A flash-forward sets the stage. The episode kicks off with a bold narrative twist, plunging viewers straight into a chilling glimpse of what's to come. We're transported to a sterile hospital ward, where the atmosphere is thick with urgency. Machines beep incessantly, their rhythmic tones a stark contrast to the chaos unfolding around them. Doctors and nurses swarm around a gurney, their faces etched with determination as they work tirelessly to save a life. The camera pans to reveal David Platt, pale, motionless, and hooked up to a tangle of wires and tubes. His chest rises and falls faintly, each breath a fragile thread holding him to this world. A doctor's voice cuts through the din, grave, and measured. We're losing him. We need to stabilize him now. The scene is raw, visceral, and sets a haunting tone for the rest of the episode. It's clear that David's life hangs by a thread, but how did he get here? With this question burning in viewers' minds, the narrative rewinds to the present, pulling us back to the familiar streets of Weatherfield. Here, we find David grappling with a mess of his own making, one that's spiraling out of control and threatening to drag him under. Meanwhile, Daisy Midgley's world is crumbling in a different way, as secrets and suspicions tighten their grip on her fragile existence. Their stories, though separate, are about to collide in a catastrophic moment that will change everything. David's downward spiral. For David Platt, life has become a relentless storm of stress and regret. Once a cheeky hairdresser with a knack for bouncing back from life's punches, he's now a man teetering on the edge. The root of his troubles lies in a tangled web of financial ruin and dangerous debts. Harvey Gaskell, a menacing figure from David's past, looms large over his every move. The money David stole, a desperate act born from desperation, has become a noose around his neck. Harvey's threats have grown more frequent, each one sharper and more sinister than the last. Phone calls in the dead of night, cryptic messages slipped under the door. The pressure is unrelenting, and David's resolve is cracking.